This is number 21 on the Unit 9 Target 5 and 6 homework. I have a triangle with 3 sides and I'm trying to find all 3 angles. Because I do not have an angle and a side across from it, I cannot use the law of cosines. Our rule is just that. If you have a side length like A is equal to 25, then I have to have the angle across from it in order to do law of sines. So because I don't, I'm going to use law of cosines. Law of cosines has a structure to it, which I have showed over to the right. I purposely didn't use A, B, and C because I want my students to understand that it's not about using a special formula and making sure you use the right one. It's about a structure to the formula. The x squared at the beginning is just a side. For example, I'm going to use 25 squared because I had circled that. The reason that it's in blue is that at the end of my equation I have times cosine x, or in this case times cosine A. The law of cosines is based on the fact that you're working with an angle, such as A, and the side across from it. I could have equally started my problem with B and the 23 and said 23 squared is equal to a bunch of stuff and ended it with a cosine of angle B. That's the point. It doesn't really matter which letters you're using. It matters that you start and end the problem with that structure of being the angle and the side opposite the angle. The other thing you need to know about the law of cosines is that the other numbers you see, or the other letters you see, y and z, simply represent the other two sides. So whichever sides you are not using. So since I started this problem with A, I'm going to use side B and side C. The 23 and the 14, I'm going to use the other two sides. So my equation is going to look like this. 25 squared equals 23 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 23 times 14 times that cosine of A. So I started with a side length 25, ended it with cosine of the angle across, and then filled in the other two sides where they went in the formula. I'm going to try to clean this up a little bit. So we're going to start with 25 squared. 25 squared is 625. So I have 625 equals, I'm going to do these next two parts together. 23 squared plus 14 squared. And I get 725. I stopped after the 14 because after that it's a minus and then a bunch of numbers that are multiplied together. So minus, and then I need to do 2 times 23 times 14. Which is 644. And then I still have that cosine A. So what I have is a number equals 725 minus a number times cosine. So if you think about the algebra steps to work this out, we need to subtract the 725 from both sides because it's a positive number and I want that to be a 0. Then I'm going to have to divide by the pink number because the 644 is being multiplied by the cosine. So we're doing inverse operations. So we'll start by subtracting 725. So 625, whoops, I wrote that wrong. 625 minus 725 is going to give us a negative 100. And then we still have the negative 644 times cosine angle A. Then I want to divide both sides by negative 644. I'm going to switch to my calculator. So negative 100 divided by negative 644. And I get this decimal 0.1552. That decimal is equal to the cosine of A. Okay, that decimal. I don't want cosine of A, I want the inverse cosine, because that tells me A. So I'm going to do the inverse cosine of that fraction, or that decimal, to get A. So that decimal was 0.155. You could do the fraction there to get the same thing. And so we'll go and let the calculator do that work for us. So second cosine, second answer, 0.155. And we get the angle 81.1 degrees. So angle A is equal to 81.1 degrees. Now I'm going to have to do that same process all over again with a different angle. So same process all over again, starting with a different angle. So I'm going to delete some of this stuff so I have some space. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay. So this time I'm going to start with, let's see, where did we say this was? A was 81.1. So let's find B this time. So to find B, I'm going to work with angle B and side B. So I start with 23 squared equals, I end with a times cosine of B. Then I use the other numbers, the 25 and the 14. So that equals 25 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 25 times 14 cosine B. Do a lot of this stuff in my calculator again. So 23 squared is 529. Still have my times cosine B at the end over here. 25 squared plus 14 squared is 821. I have a minus 2 times 25 times 14. So 2 times 25 is 50, so 50 times 14 is 700. So I have 529 equals 821 minus 700 times cosine B. So if I subtract 821 on both sides of the equation, that'll give me what's left. I'll then have to divide by negative 700. So I'm going to use my calculator to do 529 minus 821. I'm going to take that answer and divide by negative 700. That gives me the decimal. That decimal is equal to the cosine of B. And so I'm going to take second cosine of that answer and get 65.3 if I round that. So there's all my steps. The 529 minus the 821 allowed me to get rid of that on both sides. I needed to divide by negative 700 on both sides. So that what was left was a cosine B. So right here on the equation, this line second from the bottom was equal to cosine B, which is why I took the inverse cosine of that decimal, and that gave me B was 65.3 degrees. Once you have two of the angle measures, you can do 180 minus both of those and come up with the angle measure. Let's use my other calculator, 180 minus 81.1 minus 65.3. I get 33.6. So I have everything I need now.